You may be an expert in diagnosing STEMIs in usual patients who present to the emergency department, but did you know that the diagnostic criteria for an occlusion myocardial infarction is different in a patient with left bundle branch block? In this particular video, we'll discuss everything about diagnosing ischemia or myocardial infarction in a patient with left bundle branch block. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Dr. Naman Agrawal and welcome to another session on ECG Sadhana. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you do not miss any interesting content on emergency ECGs. I've got a very special bonus point at the end of this video, so don't forget to watch this video till the very last. Now, before we delve into the diagnosis of ischemia, let's just quickly see this particular ECG. So as you can see that the patient has got a wide QRS complex, has got a deep negative QRS complex in lead V1, a positive R wave in lead V6 and V5 and V6, and there is no Q wave in the lateral leads, that is V5, V6 again. So hence this patient has got a complete left bundle branch block. If you have not watched the video regarding the pathophysiology and the ECG manifestations of left bundle branch block, do check the link in the description below, where we have discussed everything about the pathology of left bundle branch block and how exactly the morphology of the ECG differs in an LBBB situation. So once you've understood the basics, now the next question is about how to diagnose ischemia in patients with left bundle branch block. In any usual patient with a typical clinical manifestation, ischemia is usually diagnosed based on an ST elevation or an ST depression. So the ischemia can be diagnosed similarly in an LBBB patient also. What is the big deal? The problem here is of the appropriate discordance. Now, what exactly is this term appropriate discordance? Now, if you see that we have discussed about the morphology of the QRS complexes in lateral leads of V5 and V6, what happens is that there is a broad positive QRS complex followed by an ST depression and a T wave inversion. And in V1, that is the right-sided leads, there is a deep S wave and that is associated with some ST elevation and T wave, which is positive. Now, why exactly this happens is because of secondary repolarization abnormalities. So as you know that there is an aberrant depolarization, this leads to a secondary repolarization abnormality. And the result of this repolarization abnormality is that the ST segment goes in the opposite direction of the QRS complex. If the QRS complex is positive in that particular lead, you will find an ST depression and a T wave inversion. If the QRS complex is negative, you will find an ST elevation and a positive T wave. So this is called an appropriate discordance. In addition to the term discordance, we should also know about a term which is known as concordance. Concordance is seen when the QRS complex and the ST segment go in the same direction. That is, there is a positive QRS complex and then there is an ST elevation. If there is a negative QRS complex, there is an ST depression. So if this is a situation, this is called as concordance. But what we normally see is the appropriate discordance. That is, some amount of ST depression or ST elevation is normally present in patients with left bundle branch block, even in the absence of ischemia. Now, since there are already ST elevations and ST depressions in a patient with left bundle branch block, it becomes really difficult to diagnose ischemia. How do we go about it then? The solution to this problem was first proposed in the form of Garbosa criteria. Now, if you see the Garbosa criteria, the first criteria says that if there is a concordant ST elevation of at least 1 millimeter, then it is given 5 points. If there is a concordant ST depression, it is given 3 points. Or if there is a discordant ST elevation of more than 5 millimeters, it is given 2 points. Now let's understand them one by one. So normally what you see in a left bundle branch block is this kind of a thing, that if there is a positive QRS complex, there is an appropriate discordance and there is an ST depression. However, if you find that there is a positive QRS complex and there is an ST elevation as well, and if this is at least 1 millimeter in height, this is abnormal and this is given 5 points as per the Garbosa criteria. Now, if you consider leads V1 and V1 to V3, the complexes are usually negative. Normally, you'll find that there is some amount of ST elevation, as you can see in this. Now, if you find that there is some amount of ST depression here, then it is abnormal and it is given 3 points. Now, in any other lead, if we do not consider just V1 to V3, if there is a negative QRS complex, there is expected to be some amount of ST elevation. But if there is a disproportionately high amount of ST elevation, which as per the original Garbosa criteria was at least 5 millimeters, then it was considered to be abnormal. But it was given only 2 points. And if the patient had a score of at least 3, that is more than 2, it was used for the diagnosis of ST elevation myocardial infarction. Now, as you can see, that if any of these criteria number 1 or a criteria number 2 are met, you can diagnose STEMI. But the criteria number 3 was not diagnostic in itself, which means that this was slightly weak criteria. So there was a modification which was done to the Garbosa criteria, in which the first 2 points were kept as it is, but the third point of discordant ST elevation was modified, and the excessive discordance was considered in proportion to the QRS complex, which means that if there is a negative QRS complex and if there is an ST elevation, you see the depth of the S wave and you compare it with the ST elevation. So if this is A and this is B. So if the ratio of ST elevation to the depth of the S wave, if it is more than 25%, it is considered to be significant. So we have shifted from the original absolute value of 5 millimeters to at least a 25% increase in the ST segment. So once we modified this criteria, the specificity of this criteria increased. Though it was still less diagnostic than the first 2 criteria of concordance, but it was still better than the original third criteria of Garbosa, and this hence forms the modified Garbosa criteria. So this is how you can diagnose an occlusion myocardial infarction or STEMI in a patient with left bundle branch block, if any of these criteria are present. So let us discuss about some pearls and pitfalls, keeping the 3 Garbosa criteria in mind. One is concordant ST elevation, one is concordant ST depression, which is in V1 to V3, and there is a discordant ST elevation of at least 25%. So these are the criteria. Criteria A, criteria B, and criteria C. Mind you, Garbosa criteria is used to diagnose occlusion myocardial infarction, which means that even in the presence of an ST depression, it is an equivalent to STEMI. Though STEMI by definition requires an ST elevation, hence the new term has been coined, which is called the occlusion myocardial infarction, which mechanistically is like a STEMI because of complete occlusion of the coronary arteries. So when you see an ST depression in V1 to V3, it is diagnostic of an occlusion, complete occlusion of coronary arteries, which is equivalent to a STEMI. Now mind you, if you remember the original criteria for diagnosis of STEMI, in a patient who does not have an LVBB, at least 2 contiguous leads are required to diagnose ischemia. However, if you talk about the Garbosa criteria, even 1 lead which shows an abnormality is enough to diagnose ischemia. Again, comparing the initial STEMI diagnostic criteria to the Garbosa criteria, we find that Garbosa criteria, if they are present, they are more specific in picking up STEMI. So these are even more diagnostically important criteria than the original STEMI criteria. Now, not only in the presence of a left bundle branch block, these criteria also can be applied in a patient who has got a right ventricular pacing kind of rhythm or a left ventricular hypertrophy. Though the diagnostic performance of Garbosa criteria is slightly less in these situations as compared to left bundle branch block, but these can very well be applied. So if you've got a patient with right ventricular pacing or a left ventricular hypertrophy, you can still diagnose STEMI using the Garbosa criteria. Now this is an example of a 50-year-old male who presented to the ED with chest pain. We don't have the lead 1 recording and V1 here, but you can see V2 and the lateral leads here. You can see that there is a QRS widening. There is no Q wave in the lateral leads here, and there is a positive R wave in lateral leads here. So basically this, which means that the patient has got a complete LVBB. Now once you have got a complete LVBB picture, to diagnose cardiac ischemia, you should apply the modified Garbosa criteria. So let's go with the criteria one by one. So the first criteria says that there is a concordant ST elevation. So do we have that here? Yes, we do have it. So if we see the inferior leads here, you can see that the QRS complexes are positive, and there is also an ST elevation, and this is definitely more than 1 millimeter, and maybe in lead V5 and V6 as well. So the first Garbosa criteria is actually met. So you don't have to go to any of the other criteria, because even one criteria in one lead is enough to diagnose an occlusion STEMI. However, for discussion purposes, let's go to discuss about the next criteria. A concordant ST depression of at least 1 millimeter in lead V1 to V3. So do we see that? In lead V2, you can see that there is some amount of ST depression, but in lead V3, you can definitely see that there is an ST depression. If this is the baseline, the TP segment is the baseline, you can see that there is an ST depression. So even the second criteria is met. And the third criteria says that there is a discordant ST elevation of at least 25%. Well, you don't see that happening in the ECG, but this is not required. So all the three criteria are not required, if you remember. Hence, using the Garbosa criteria, you can say that this patient has got an occlusion myocardial infarction. So I hope the concept of diagnosing ischemia in patients with LBBB using modified Garbosa is clear to you. Now, if you have to take home some points from this particular video, you should consider these. That you should look out for left bundle branch block before you diagnose an ischemia, because LBBB can itself cause some STT changes, and if you miss LBBB, you may wrongly diagnose it as ischemia, which may just be the secondary repolarization abnormalities. Now, in a normal LBBB, that is in a patient who does not have any ischemia, the ST segment runs away from the QRS complex, and which is called an appropriate discordance. Now, if you see LBBB on an ECG, any of the three Garbosa criteria can be used to diagnose ST elevation myocardial infarction. As you know, one of the criteria for diagnosis of STEMI is an ST depression. So you need to understand that an occlusion myocardial infarction can be present even without an ST elevation. So if you see ST depressions in an ECG, you should not rule out an occlusion myocardial infarction. That is a very important point. Now, mind you, previously it was considered that a new left bundle branch block or a presumed new left bundle branch block is a STEMI equivalent, but it is no longer the case, because if such patients were taken for to the cardiac catheterization lab, it was seen that many of them did not have any coronary occlusion. However, you need to remember that if along with left bundle branch block, any of the Garbosa criteria are present, that makes it a STEMI. If the patient is hemodynamically unstable and you find that LBBB is possibly new, then you should diagnose the patient with STEMI and shift the patient for cardiac catheterization lab. And the third thing is, if the patient has got additional features like echocardiographic evidence or a cardiac biomarker evidence of cardiac injury in presence of a new left bundle branch block, you can diagnose STEMI. So if any of them is present, you can proceed with the possibility of a STEMI in such a patient. But LBBB itself is not a STEMI equivalent in the current guidelines. As I promised to you, at the end of this video, there is a bonus for you. So for those who have watched the video till now, I hope you liked the video. Please hit the like button and share it with your friends who may find it to be informative. Now, for the bonus content, recently there was a study which was conducted for a new diagnostic criteria of STEMI in presence of left bundle branch block, which is known as the Barcelona algorithm. It was published in the Journal of American Heart Association in 2020. Now, what does this Barcelona algorithm say? So the first criteria for diagnosis of occlusion myocardial infarction is a concordant ST deviation of at least 1 millimeter, which means that if there is a positive QRS complex, there is an ST elevation of at least 1 millimeter, it is diagnostic of a STEMI, which is same as Garbosa criteria. If there is a concordant ST depression, which means there is a negative QRS complex and there is an ST depression in any lead, it is diagnostic of STEMI. Now, mind you, in the Garbosa criteria, this was limited to only V1 to V3. But in the Barcelona algorithm, it can be seen in any of the leads. So this is the difference here. The second criteria talks about the discordance. So if you remember in the Garbosa criteria, the ST elevation to S wave ratio is more than 25%. Then you diagnose a STEMI. But in the Barcelona algorithm, this criteria is only applicable to the leads in which S wave or the R wave voltage is less than 6 millimeter, which means that those leads in which you have a small R wave like this or a small S wave like this, in these patients, then you find an ST elevation of 1 millimeter or an ST depression of 1 millimeter here. This is diagnostic of an ST elevation myocardium. So these are some changes which are seen in the new Barcelona algorithm. However, this needs to be externally validated. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope to see you in the next video. What other ECG topics do you want me to cover? Do let me know in the comment box below. Subscribe to the channel ECG Sadhana for more interesting content on emergency ECGs. Until then, stay healthy and keep saving lives.